Hello everyone, this is a Cooler Master HAF XB EVO LanBox, and today we're going to be installing this Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 280 to improve our cooling of a 10-core LGA Intel CPU. Stay tuned. So we'll start by taking the lid off. This lid does contain a large fan. We will need to disconnect that. And here you can see the fan. And we'll move the lid and the fan out of the way so we can continue on with the build. We're looking at the case from above where we can see the motherboard. Inside, we can actually see 3 SSDs, one on a daughter card. There's an external adapter card for an external drive array for additional expansion. And in addition, you can also see the memory and the CPU cooler from Intel. That cooler from Intel is what we're going to be replacing. So we're going to start by taking the side panels off this case. There, we're able to take off the front. This needs a little bit of cleaning before it goes back together. And here we've got the front of the case open. I'll be back to wipe this off a little bit, but here's where the 4 fans are going to go, and then we're going to put the cooler in the back. I'm a little bit worried about these metal tabs over here. It feels like they're blocking a substantial amount of airflow. But I think I'm going to give it a try without it. I'm not going to try and cut those out right now. So I'm going to wipe these off, take sure all the dust is off, and make sure we're clean. So here, looking at the power supply and where the CPU, I'm going to have to fit a mounting bracket through the motherboard when I replace this fan, and I don't have a space here. So I've got 2 options. I can either lift the motherboard out and place it in, or I can try to move the power supply to give myself some space. And I think I'm going to go the power supply route. Okay, so I've got the whole box pulled out, flipped around, and as you can see, I tend to take this apart quite often, so I don't put all the screws in to hold it in place, but I'm just going to take out the 2 that are holding it, and that should allow me the ability pull this out just enough so I can get some space here. Okay, so we are loosening up. Pulling out the old Intel CPU cooler. Okay, so now I've got to take the thermal paste off the CPU. So I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol on here to help it. And sit it on here a little bit. You can see the thermal paste. I'm going to fold this over, get a little more. I'm going to keep doing this until it comes out clean. And it's clean. Okay, this is an Intel 1200 socket CPU, and we're going to have to attach these adapters with these two screws to the space. And we do that, we'll take one of the screws, insert it in, pop it in here, and okay, and the next one. My hands are a bit shaky there. And as you can see there, we've got the adapters here connected for the 1200. Okay, so now we're going to have to install the back plate so we can put the fan. So that's the back plate. For the Intel socket 1200, we'll use 4 of the largest standoffs, and we're going to use these plastic washers, stick-on adhesive washers. 4 of these go beneath the motherboard on top of this, and then the other 4 go on top of the motherboard, between the motherboard and these screws. Okay, so here's the motherboard with the cleaned off CPU. We've got the 4 holes here, which correspond to the holes that this is going to come up through. And notice there are 3 holes here, and these key in to the 3 for the socket of the motherboard as well too. So the first thing I'm going to do is place these stickers there. Okay, so originally I wanted to place it in like this, but the problem I'm going to have is I can move this is okay, but I'm not going to be able to move these, and it's going to block all access to this. At least I won't be able to plug and unplug these, something I deem important, and so I'm going to have to give myself a little more space. And so I'm going to take off the fans, mount this on the inside, and then place these fans on the outside. And I still have yet to decide, is it going to be a push or a pull, but I'll determine that in a few minutes. Okay, so here I'm starting to disassemble. So one of the screws out. To save some time, I've doubled the speed of the video here, so untorquing all these screws goes a lot quicker. So we've got all the screws out, and let me move this over just a bit so you can see how these are connected. And here's the cable right here, and this plugs into both. So I'll disconnect those. There. Okay. And so now I've got that out. And I've got my 2 fans and all my screws. Okay, so the fans are off, and I've decided I'm going to carefully sit this here and carefully sit this here, and the screws for the fans are going to go into here. Okay, so originally I was going to mount these with the socket down at the bottom, but the USB connectors, audio connectors, power switch, everything is here, and I'm worried when I try to put the case on it's going to interfere. So I've decided instead to route this over the top, which seems completely doable as well too. The fan connectors are here, I've got the power connector here, and so I'm going to insert this one right here. And between these two and the power connector, we should be good to go. So I'm putting the screw in, and I'm going to lift this up so the hole aligns. And screw this in, and these two fit, and this fits as well too. So now it's just a matter of putting the rest of the screws in. So just a final tightening. Not too tight. We don't want to break anything, but just enough to make sure the fan and the space between the fan and the case tightens up. And let's just make sure. Again, very gentle. I'm a little worried about breaking this. And you can see the space tightened up there. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to put the fan connectors on. They're keyed, so they can only go in one way. And we're going to place them like so. Okay, so now we're going to apply the thermal paste. I'm just using the paste that came with it, MX4. Arctic makes great paste. There's no reason not to use it. You absolutely positively have to have this on your CPU. Now, the sizing of this is, I don't know. You get all sort of answers all over the place, but the general accepted, and Intel actually states this, is roughly the size of the P, placed in the center. Don't spread it, and let the pressure take care of spreading it for you. So I'm going to go in here, and this is 0.8 grams. We'll see how this works out. I think that's roughly the size of a pea. Alright, so I think you can see the thermal paste right there. Now we've got to take this, and we've got the sticker here. Once we peel off the sticker, you don't want to touch this. Copper tends to tarnish quite easy. Also, we're going to insert it on the posts that are there. It's going to be these inner screw holes here for the LG 1200 socket. So I'm going to peel this off. Alright, I'm going to hold this up so it's out of the way. This fan is going to be facing this to help keep this cool. That's what it's there for. And then we are going to align these. And are they aligned? I think they are. Okay, we've got these 4 knobs, which are what we're going to use to screw this down. Oh, got misaligned. There we go. And so I'm going to open here. Place the next one here. And this one's very tight up against the plastic. And then I'm going to place the next one here. And I can't seem to turn that one, so let's go real gentle. And then this one here. Okay, so for these screws, you don't want to make them too tight, but first we're going to tighten them to make sure this is sit against the CPU. And then we're going to go just a little bit further, but we're going to go in a cross pattern. Okay, so actually, okay, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then we'll go to this one again, and then this one again, and we'll take care of this one again, and this one again, and just to be sure. Okay, next thing you're going to have to do is plug this in. And this plugs into the CPU fan socket on your motherboard. Be sure to check your manual, make sure you're getting it in the right place. It's different for every motherboard. Mine is right here. It's keyed. It'll only go in one way. And so now we are plugged in. I'm going to set this down here. Well, I guess not. There we go. And so this is installed. The only problem we have now are these hoses. They're sticking up here, and we have that big fan here, which is really going to cause a problem. That said, we've got air being pushed in. It is going to be hot air. We've got this exhaust fan pushing out. We've got the air holes, and the fan, the big fan on top, is going to be an exhaust. So I think we're going to be okay here. Okay, so to finish putting things back together, we're going to have to put the power supply back in. And if you remember, that is over here. And let's move this up a little bit. And so we've got this, which needs to go back in. And that doesn't have to be tight, just to hold the motherboard in place, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And then when I turn this around, make sure this all looks okay. It seems to. So here we're facing it again. We're going to put the Cooler Master faceplate on. You can see here how the cable went through. Here's the cables up here, and here we've got the keys that go into these slots, and so we simply align them. Okay. Move this up a little bit, and we'll get the side panels in. Okay, we're going to do something about this in a minute here. And let me get the other side panel on. And this goes here. Okay. All right, so I've got this problem, right? It's going to hit the fan that's up above. I need to somehow bring these down. I also need to be careful not to kink these. I've got no place to tie it down onto the motherboard. I hate to do this, but I'm going to use two of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to so those are tied, and I've got these down here, and so I'm going to connect those. Alright, so I've got this problem, right? It's going to hit the fan that's up above. I need to somehow bring these down. I also need to be careful not to kink these. I've got no place to tie it down onto the motherboard. I hate to do this, but I'm going to use two of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to so those are tied, and I've got these down here, and so I'm going to connect those. Just for now. Again, I want to be careful not to kink. And then let's make sure we don't have a problem with the fan. And we should be good to go. Okay. Move this down a little bit, make sure, and that should be it. Okay, we're going to put the lid on, and you've also got to plug in the fan. And there we go.